Hey everybody, Buzz Miller of Wannabe Studios here. I was asked a question on my email. It was a good question. The question was, what products do you use and what is your signal chain to get your sound? That's a good question. I want to answer a great question. What do you use and why? I think when you know the whys, it takes you from being a sheep that just does something because someone else did it to being educated. So let's start with guitars, because that was the one I was asked for. What kind of guitars do I use? I use everything. To me, a guitar is a solid piece of wood and a solid piece of wood bolted together. So my question is the piece of wood good? Is the neck joint solid? Does it move all over the place? Is the neck solid? When the weather changes, do I have to be all over the truss rod to keep it true? You get a good piece of wood that feels good on the back of your hand. It's got the right shape. It's got the right texture on the back of the neck. It feels good to your arm. The body size is good. That's what makes a good guitar. Then it's got to sound good, obviously. But if you've got that, it doesn't matter to me what's on the headstock. I've got guitars from Washburn, Hamer, Vester, ESP, Ibanez, Gibson. I've got so many guitars around here. If they're good, I keep them. If they're bad, I get rid of them for nothing. So, I believe it doesn't matter what it says. What does it mean to you? One of the reasons why I play Washburn and I like the Hamers and stuff, they don't have a volume knob that sits right next to the humbucking bridge pickup. I do like a humbucker in the bridge. People that make these, or companies that make these, I rest my pinky down on the corner of the guitar and that adjusts the height of my palm mutes and shutting the guitar up with the meat of my hand. Now when that happens, if there's a volume knob there, I tend to turn it down and that really aggravates me. I'll be playing like crazy and I'm up playing live and I'll realize I've got no signal, it's almost dead, and I look and I'm down on 2 and I got to turn me back up. So when I make a guitar, I made this one, I put the volume knobs way out of the way. I don't use a treble knob. Now we're going to call it a treble knob because it's not a tone knob. Tone is a combination of everything the guitar does, your fingers do, everything in the signal all the way pushed out through the speaker. That's the tone that you make. This is a treble knob. The treble knob adjusts the highs of the guitar. I don't run a treble knob. These are pickup gain. This is pickup gain for this is pickup gain for this. I set them so they push-pull, so I can split this coil, or any variation of volumes between the two with both of them split or one split. So I play with that. And then just a simple three-way. That's pretty much how I set most of my guitars up. I don't really like a center pickup. I tend to hit it with my pick when I start playing a certain way, and it breaks my concentration. Plus, with this setup, I can get pretty much any sound I want. I don't really need a center pickup to get my single coil sound. So that's kind of the guitar aspect of it. Pickups. I like Dimarzio pickups. Dimarzio pickups tend to be a little bit more defined. You can hear the way the pick comes off the string. You can hear that this is a partial harmonic, not necessarily, you hear the small nuances of the way you do things. When you hit a chord, you hear each individual note. That is great for certain people and terrible for certain people. I was talking to a really good guitar manufacturer. He says, I can't put Dimarzios in my guitars. My customers just won't do it. They don't want to hear a little mistake. They just want to hit some rock and roll and play some metal. He likes to use EMGs, he likes to use bare knuckles, he likes to use Seymour Duncans in his guitars. If you're more into the gent stuff, if you're more into just blasting out, those pickups are every bit as good a quality as a Dimarzio. I use Dimarzio because I like to hear the small little things the way I do certain notes. Make that one note sound 15 different ways. I think that's why you see the Steve Vais of the world and the Paul Gilberts and the Andy Timmons and the Joe Satrianis use Dimarzio pickups because they, as instrumentalists, they tend to like that sound as well. Now you can get good powerful sounds. Look at the John Petrucci's, get great sounds, rhythm and heavy metal for that type of a thing if you use the right Dimarzios. But Dimarzios to me tend to be a little bit more of the instrumental guitar type of thing, the small details. So That's why I use Dimarzios. I don't know that they're better. I think they're as good a quality as anything out there, but they are more to my taste. Stainless frets. I swear by stainless frets. If a guitar doesn't have stainless frets on it, I can't do it. I just bought a brand new Nuno Betancourt, one of the lesser models. I got it here, yanked every fret out of it before I even played it, and put all new stainless frets in. I think stainless frets are the answer for me. Why? Because once you get the fret job right, it's done and you leave it. You don't have to be on top of it. You don't have to recrown them or repolish them. You just get it right one time and you leave it. Now, some people say, well, stainless frets are a little too smooth, a little too buttery. I like to play the blues. I like to be able to dig in real hard on my fret and have that note continue to ring off the fret. If you like that, get your stainless frets, get some 2000 grit sandpaper, and run vertically across the neck 6 or 8 times, and it gives it just a little bit of coarseness, so you get that feel of a nickel fret. But again, it's a stainless fret, so once you get it right, leave it. And if that's what you like, do that and leave it, and you're always going to have that little bit of grit. Then if you say, I don't want that anymore, I kind of want to go back to the shredder mentality, just polish it. Boom, you got a perfect polish. So that's why I like stainless frets. I like getting something right and leaving it for a long time. Picks. I use Dunlop Ultex Sharps. I use the Sharps because I want very small movements of my hand to get the attack that I want off of the string. I found with more rounded picks, I have to either push harder or put them at more of an angle to get the attack I want. With this, very small movements, very efficient. I like a little bit thicker of a pick. This is a 1.0. Why do I like a thicker pick? I watched a video and Guthrie Govan says if you're grabbing the end of a pencil and it's like rubber and you're trying to draw on a piece of paper, you don't have a lot of control. Where you get that pencil and now it's rock solid, you've got a lot more control of what goes on the paper. Same kind of thing here. Every movement I want with my finger, I want with the end of the pick. I don't want to have the pick moving where I don't know where it's going. Again, my preference, some people play really fast, really great with real flexible picks. Now I also choke way up on the pick, so there's not a lot of room between where I'm holding it and the tip to have movement. Why do I do that? I do that so I can get artificial harmonics on the downstroke and the upstroke. So I don't have to go, oh, I got a downstroke to hit this artificial harmonic. And also, the difference between picking and an artificial harmonic is such a minute change. You probably won't even see it if you're watching me play. So that's why I hold it the way I do. These are my disposable picks. I play them for a little while, throw them out to the crowd. Play them for a while, throw them out to the crowd. These don't last very long. So I went out and bought some of those blue chip picks. They're great. They last a long time. They're kind of like a stainless steel fret. The problem is you got to get it right. They do not sell them in the profile that I like. So I go buy my $35 pick, get it here, and I got to take it out to the shop and hack it up to get it to be the profile that I want. But once I got that profile, it stays for a long time. So I tend to practice. I tend to record with those, and when I'm playing out, I play these. I keep a pretty close to this profile on my blue chip picks. But I'm not going to throw $35 picks out to the audience after I've spent an hour getting the right profile on them. So, next thing, I spend a lot of time making my guitars pretty and making them sound pretty. What I don't want to do is have the stupid eyelet of my strap come off and the guitar fall on the ground. I've watched it too many times. I believe in strap locks. This is bolted through the strap into the guitar. This can't come off. The only way it can come off is if that whole screw assembly comes out or the whole horn breaks off the guitar. That, if it happens, the guitar hitting the dirt is the least of my worries. So, I'm playing live. I keep my wireless on the actual strap and I just unclip another guitar, put that guitar, clip it on, plug it in, I'm ready to go. That way I don't have to be swapping wireless, that type of thing, having multiple wireless. Just one wireless, it always stays with me. It's on my strap lock, and almost every one of my guitars has Dimarzio strap locks, and so they're all interchangeable. Love strap locks. The safety of knowing your guitar isn't going to hit the dirt is worth it for me. I am a believer in Floyd Rose. I do like the small adjustment. I do like some of the things that it does. I do like the fact that I can adjust all my intonation and my heights without too much trouble. Go out to the machine shop. I've got a couple of guitars. My last guitar I put to a 20-inch radius here. It was like 18 something here and 14.5 at the nut. Just changed it right up, real easy, put it all back together, intonated it. Pretty cool guitar, I really like it. The thing that I do change about a Floyd Rose is I don't keep them fully floating. What does that mean? That means the block that hangs off the bottom of the Floyd Rose, I put something along the front of it. I'm going to do a video to show you how to do this with just the products you have around your house. So there's a block in between that and the wood of the guitar. So you don't have to worry about the Floyd coming back to zero. It always comes back to the exact same spot because we've measured the amount of piece we have to have between the block and the wood of the guitar. So that way I have perfect alignment. I don't have it jacked up, don't have it too far down, and I can tune to D. None of the other strings change. I can take a half step out of everything. I don't have to readjust springs on the back, none of that. So basically, I can't pull up anymore, but I can pull down all I want. I've noticed that when I want to go up with a note, I just bend it. I bend up, and when I want to go down, I whammy. So now I've got the whammy. You can whammy all day, it always comes back to zero. So that's why I like Floyd Rose or Floyd Rose styles. This actually came off an Ibanez Geo. I needed the parts to finish this guitar. I had an Ibanez Geo that would never come back to zero. If you pulled it down, it would stay low. If you pulled it up, it would be way above an E. So I yanked that off of that, put that on here. I actually have titanium running between the block and the wood for this one. In my instructional video, I will not be using titanium because that is not a household product. So I put that in there, and this has been the greatest little Floyd, and it's cheap, easy to find. I really love it. What else do I use and why? Let's go through a quick list. I started making my own cables and found out that every time I changed an over-the-counter cable with one that I made with Mogami cable and neutrik ends, I had less resistance. The sound of the guitar was getting through truer to the amp. I was having to start to, because I have 4 cables in my chain, I was having to turn down the amp a little bit every time I changed a cable out. And I cut the cables to the length that I wanted to make. I don't have to run a 15-footer when I go from this position to this position. I can make a 10-inch cable, and that way I don't have any extra resistance. So I'm a firm believer in Mogami cable and neutrik ends. Other makers are great out there. It's just what I chose to use and what I'm kind of sticking with. I like Eminence speakers. They seem to be a little more consistent batch to batch than some of the Chinese-made Celestians that I'm seeing. I use the Eminence Governors, which are very similar to the vintage 30s. Again, just a real classic hard rock metal speaker. Looking at 16 of them sitting around me right now, and every batch I get, they're just the same as the last. They're real durable. I like the sound. I'm used to them. I kind of cater my sound to those speakers. Amps. Everybody's making a great amp right now. I like true tube amps. I'm not a big fan of the digital side of the head and then a tube power amp. A couple people have made those okay, but not really my bag. I tend to run the amp clean and run a little bit of distortion and then any effect that I want, which usually is pretty minimal, out of a processor. But I run the processor straight through the input of the amp, not through an effects loop. I want to wet the sound up a little bit, get a little of that digital feel out of it, and put some tube warmth to it. So I go straight through the input. The amp I'm running right now is what's called a black label that was done by Tony Crank. He made it just for me. Tony Crank makes nice durable amps. You can throw anything through the front and pretty much be safe. I've got Marshalls laying around. I've got Revolutions. I've got Carvin. I do really love Carvin amps. But the amp is not as much a part of my signal as you would think it would be. I just need those tubes, and I need a real consistent, real durable amp. So that's what I use, I think that's about it. If you have any questions, if you have any concern, oh no, That is not it. Here's the most important one of all. Sfarzo strings. Sfarzo strings. They're made in the USA. They're made up in California in Sonoma. These, the touchstones, these are cryogenically treated. If you like that sound of I just put brand new strings on, they sound real bright, even acoustically you can hear it, and you plug into your amp and you go, whoa, did I just retube this thing? Because it's just got a little more. If you like that sound, you will love these strings. These strings, you put them on and it's got that sound and it keeps it for a long time. If you're going to be recording for 2 weeks, no need to be changing strings every day, every other day. Put these on before you go in. It's going to sound exactly the same as day 1 as day 14 if you're doing 2 weeks of studio work. Keep these on for a long time. They don't change. Super consistent. In strings, I believe number 1, they gotta feel right to your fingers. If they don't, throw them away. Don't go chasing a sound. Oh, I have to use 12s because this blues man used 12s, or I have to use 8s because ZZ Top used 8s. No. Play what is comfortable to you. We've done some tests between 12s and 8s, and the amount of difference is minuscule. You think, oh, to get that big heavy sound, I have to do this or have to do this. The only real difference we saw is there's a little bit more detail, string to string and note to note, when you go with a little bit lighter of a string. We didn't see that, oh, running 12s, you get this big, heavy, bluesy sound. I think a lot of that's old wives' tales we've been telling each other for the last 30, 40 years. Play what feels comfortable. Another thing, if they don't sound great, get them off. Chop them off your guitar, throw them away. And the other thing that's big to me, some people don't care, to me I do. I want something that's consistent. Sfarzo, I put them on day 1, day 50 they're the same. They sound the same, they feel the same. I don't get a lot of corrosion on strings at all. Now, part of that's because I live in Phoenix. I don't have a lot of humidity. I don't have any salt in my air. If you're living in LA or you're living on the coast somewhere and you get a lot of corrosion on your strings, try these. These, of all the strings I've tried, have the least corrosion, either, but the Sfarzo brand. These are a little bit more of a nickel string, a little bit more like a boomer. Although GHS boomers, they're real bright and they die real fast. These stay not quite as bright as a boomer, but close, real similar sound, and they stay for a very long time. Again, consistency is important with me. I don't want to spend, these strings are 10 bucks a piece. These are like 6. I don't want to spend 10 bucks a day and keep throwing strings on every day when I'm in the studio. I want a set of strings and I want to leave them on for a long time. So if you like that and that makes sense to you, try these strings. You can get them on eBay. You can get them on Just Strings. You can get them straight from Sfarzo. Grab a pair of these, put them on, and leave me some comments. You're going to find out these are the best strings you've ever played. About 6-8 months ago, I went out and bought all the new strings that were out that everybody's touting in the guitar magazines, and I put them on different guitars, and I played them, and there were only 2 real strings that went, yeah, I'm keeping these on, and the Sfarzo touchstones were one of them. The other ones are strings that I can't even find anymore. But you're going to love these strings. I think that's about it. Trying to think of what else I could cover. If you have any questions, give me an email. Drop me something in the comments down below. I hope this helps out. Maybe your ideas, maybe why a certain pickup over another, or a pick, or a string gauge, whatever. I hope it helped out. If you have any questions, let me know. Keep on rocking. We'll catch you guys later.